So Andrew Tate has been arrested. In
Oh,
case you
yeah.
didn't know. I went to Reuters. Put up some of these pictures of Andrew Tate being arrested while we talk about this, just to start. Bucharest, how would you enunciate that?
Bucharest.
Bucharest. A Romanian court agreed. So actually, he was arrested on a Thursday. And then it says a Romanian court agreed late on Friday to extend his detention. So he's, according to Reuters, which I believe is where all this I think this is, I'm not even going to try to guess, but I believe this is like one of the original sites that posted up this story. But according to them, he's staying in jail for 30 days. Like, people were saying he got out, but apparently he's going to be in there for another 30 days because the Romanian court agreed late on Friday to extend the detention of Andrew Tate by 30 days. They didn't say anything about his brother, though. They arrested both of them.
I think they only detained his brother for like 24 hours, but yeah, I read today too, the 30 days. I didn't know how long before, and today's the first day I seen when they said 30 days.
Yeah, he was, the charges was like rape. They were detained on Thursday. I want to read what those charges were, man.
Well, it's not just rape, yeah, it's for rape and I think running like a sex ring thing.
Which he's already told everybody that that's what he does, hasn't he? Hasn't he said that like numerous occasions? He said he has used women to create like online accounts where dudes go and talk to them, and like,
I'm guessing they're trying to lean more towards like prostitution, probably.
Maybe. Or all this talk about Andrew Tate, he talks about the Matrix and everything and how he
says that's what happened.
it. Yeah.
He's saying the Matrix was kind of got him because, like, and how, well, we can talk about it, but yeah, how Greta Thunberg, like, this is how that all started, right? And then all of a sudden, like, as soon as he gets in, like, beef with her, they, like, go after him and, like, grab him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched that video that you sent me. So I don't know why in the hell did he start talking to Greta Thunberg? Like, who even gives a damn about Greta anymore?
She must have said something, but I don't know.
Me neither. I'm not sure how that started, but someone said that that's what led to them arresting Andrew Tate. Like, maybe Greta Thunberg or whatever, maybe her mob came after. Like, because I don't know. I feel like, here's what I think. I think somebody got to those. I think that people have been trying to get to Andrew Tate for a long time, and I think somebody finally, you know how when, who was the Supreme Court judge? Greg Kavanaugh, right? Weren't witnesses being paid off or coerced into like testifying against him that he had raped that one woman? So I think something like that happened in his trial. He was eventually like found innocent, and he is a Supreme Court judge right now, I believe. Just my memory's a little shoddy on stuff like this, but bear with me. Something to that extent. I think that's what's going on with Andrew Tate. People have been trying to shut him down for forever and just keep him quiet. And this was like an obvious choice to go after him because he is, and he's admitted it several times, he's involved with like women doing like online, it's like OnlyFans stuff.
Yeah, but that's not illegal.
No, it's not. But it's a route to them, which is why probably his brother was released immediately. It's a route to them to like try to frame him for something.
Well, here's the thing. There's actually 4 of them. There's 2 Romanian guys also with them. So I'm wondering if it like something didn't happen with those other 2 guys whose name's not known. And they just happened to be like hanging out with them and like found out now they're like all tied in. Maybe they're just asking him questions. Who knows?
Dude, that's very possible. Here on Reuters, it says the 4 suspects appear to have created an organized crime group with the purpose of recruiting, housing, and exploiting women by forcing them to create pornographic content meant to be seen on specialized website for a cost. So that's it.
Maybe one of them thought they weren't getting enough money, and like that's the problem here too. Like, how many of these women were they forcefully put to it, or were they willing to? And now that something happened, they're like, oh, help me. Like, I'm not saying that's what happened, but I guarantee like at least a couple of them like pulled that card, right?
I would say so, yeah.
Like they weren't all like, they knew what they were doing there. The guy had money. He had a mansion. He had all these cars.
Yeah.
They could party like every night and drink. You think they were just doing it for no reason whatsoever?
Right.
Like they're just like, oh yeah, I hate this. This is terrible.
Yeah, dude.
I hate my life.
You have to have some bitter people. When it comes to stuff
know.
like this, 100% you've got to run into...
I'm not saying something didn't happen either. I don't know. But.
I know. I don't want to stand up for Andrew Tate like until they... I say he's innocent until proven guilty, though.
Well, that's what they say, right?
Right. So that's... I mean, everybody else should be going with that as well. But to presume him guilty, like... I went to a lot of news websites before I went to Reuters to find what I feel like is the actual story, like unbiased to an extent. I went to like a bunch of other like Fox News, NBC, like CNN, and their stories, like it's crazy to watch how they phrase things, you know? It's like at the beginning of certain places, it's like at the very top, the first sentence, they made sure the first word was rape. Mm-hmm. Andrew Tate charged with rape in big bold print, and then like other websites. It's weird how they word stuff, but either way, we don't know if it's real or fake or what's going on. This is all so new.
Well, the whole like Thunberg thing too, like she got in beef with him, right? And like it's funny, like she can say like that's the point. There's a video I watched and I sent it to you where he's like saying how she can just say whatever she wants, like. The whole thing was he said, send me your email. And she's like, little dick energy and all this, which is, I mean, it's funny. They're talking smack back and forth, but like, it's okay for her to say something. But like when he made a video going back, he has to like tiptoe around because it's okay for like her side to say whatever she wants.
Right.
But as soon as he wants to say something, he's wrong. He's in the wrong and he can't say it.
Exactly.
Like, well, why is that? Shouldn't both sides be able to then?
Yeah, they should be able to. But
I mean, it's biased, right?
It's just like it's 100% biased. It's just like one side. Like I don't know, man. There's a certain group of people who maliciously will. They don't just allow people to say things. They want to go after you for stuff, and it's liberal people. I've noticed this a lot over the past few years. It's a lot of liberal-based human beings who believe in everyone's ability to. They'll say you need to love everybody. You need to accept everybody. You need to let people speak. You need to not marginalize certain groups and all this stuff. But if someone says something like Andrew Tate, if he's saying what he wants to say, if he's abiding by all these little principles they like to throw out there, they'll go after you. But they don't just go after you online. Like, people like this, like they go after, like
take you out.
Yeah,
like,
they try to get you. Yeah, they try to get you fired. They try to get you thrown in jail. They want to like delete your Instagram account. All this stuff, and the same thing has happened time and time again with people on the internet, and it's usually just a certain group of people, and it's the crowd. Like Greta Thunberg, she's in that crowd of people. Like, that's her fan base. Those kind of people that want to shut you up and silence you and delete you from the internet, get you fired, get you killed if that's what it takes. Like, they don't care, man. They're violent human beings. So I don't know, man. It's so lame. Like,
get so
they're weak
about
people.
Somebody else saying something, yeah.
Yeah, they're just weak people. I have a feeling none of this is gonna stick. Like, I don't see it.
I think it's going to get tied up so much. I don't know. It's in another country, too. So, I mean, they're on like a whole different set of rules.
That's true. And Andrew Tate has recently, there's videos out where Andrew Tate says, it's like the prophetic, you know, like how Tupac, like, prophesied his own death, like, in his music and stuff. And certain people, when you go back after they're dead, they're like, oh, my God, he was telling us or she was telling us they were going to get killed. They were going to die. And we didn't see it. Well, Andrew Tate, there's videos of him saying, first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to silence me. Second thing they're going to do is they're going to try to put me in prison or in jail. The third thing, they're going to try to kill me. He's said that, you know, plenty of times. So it's like now we're watching it happen. It's like, what the hell, man?
Because he's not wrong, yeah.
And what's he doing so wrong, though, is the issue. Like, what did he do? That was so wrong. I don't even
He spoke
know.
up for himself, right?
I think about this a lot, man. Do you think we're being mentally controlled and we don't know it? You think that's possible? You know, like the MK Ultra.
I don't think I am personally, but I think some people are.
I know,
Yeah,
but
it's
how
to a
would
point.
you know?
But you think you're being controlled to be one way and they're controlled to be another way, so we fight?
I don't
Like,
know.
that doesn't make sense either. Like, wouldn't they want you all to, like, adhere? Obviously, like, if you're being controlled, who's controlling you? Like a government, right? Well, they'd want us to, like, abide to their rules and be just like them. They'd want you all to go out and, like, get your COVID shot, right? And make sure you're doing everything they say.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people aren't doing that. So, like, how are they being controlled then?
Right. And I agree with you to that extent, right? I don't think I'm being controlled either, right? But I thought about this the other day as I was driving. When I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about, like, people, like government programs and people and how easy it is to, like, program your brain. Even there's people online that have done, like tests of this where they'll go out, like this one dude, for instance, he went out with his girlfriend all day long and he kept subtly mentioning like numbers to her throughout the day, like a certain number or a certain color or something like that. And at the end of the day, he would ask her a question and she would just repeat to him this thing that he's been pumping into her head all day long. And he would make her guess in her head and then he would guess it out loud. And she would be like, "Oh my God, how did you know that?" And he's like, "Because I was pumping it into your head all day. Like, I put that in your brain." Like, and she didn't. She had no clue, right? Yeah. So you wonder, like, how much of that stuff is the government doing? And I say that because there are government programs. There's so much that we don't know about that they're doing. But there's also stuff that has come out. And the little bit they do let out, you find out, oh, my God, they're doing experiments and trials on humans, like how to control the brains. Like, watching like the stuff you see on television, what comes out, like what they're putting into your pharmaceutical drugs, they're allowing you to get addicted to certain stuff. Like in San Francisco, dude, they'll give you a box full of needles, like they'll give you this whole kit to inject yourself with the all the drugs you want, but they won't give you like basic necessities like food, clothing, like, but they'll give you this nice, clean medical box kit full of all the needles you want, everything to cook your meth, like all this stuff. It's like, what is going on? Why would you do that?
But those people don't think for themselves either, right? That's why I think like me and you and some people aren't to a point controlled, because like if you're somebody who actually like thinks a lot, I think that's a different story, because like you're using your brain. There's people you can tell just like don't use their brain to like their full extent.
True.
Because like you'll like if you think of something, you'll like think of a process and like all this, and some people just do,
right,
and like go right. They're not like breaking it down, or like I'll read something and I try, like for me, I'll try to see both sides or like read into it. Yeah. There's some people just read what they see and they're like, oh no, that's wrong. Like, but they don't even like do the research or anything, right? They're not using their brain to actually like, how am I trying to say? Like exercise your brain, right?
Right.
Like it's everybody like, and that's why people on their phones and they're like TikTok. Like I feel like that stuff programs you too, like to a point.
It has,
because you just get sucked in. Like I'll admit I've done it too. I'll go on like YouTube and watch videos and like I'll get sucked into videos, man, and like I don't even realize it. And then like a little bit later, I'm like, man, I gotta stop watching this.
Yeah, you're just freaking scrolling all day long.
I'll just keep checking videos and like watching new videos, right?
Yeah. It makes me wonder if there aren't two extreme sides of it. Like, I think you and I are not being controlled. I think Andrew Tate is not being controlled, right? I think a lot of people are. And that's why this is happening. Right. And, boy, man, this podcast is going to go left real quick. I just want to throw in one little thing. I heard that they are trying to make... There's a lot of conspiracy stuff online. I don't want to put this out there, but I'm going to anyway. F it. I've heard they're trying right now to create a certain vaccine that is like going to be mandatory for all children to take. You know, like I don't want to turn this into the pandemic talk.
Well, it's not.
Try to keep certain words out of it.
But
right?
they're like they already have stuff like that now that they require you to have, right, from like smallpox and all that.
Yeah, but I feel like as of recently, I feel like they're feeling everybody out, right? It has this weird. There's this air. There's this thing in the air right now. It has this weird feeling of a setup. Like when you know someone is setting you up, sometimes you can just feel it, and it gives you that chill. And like the last couple of years that we went through in this country, I feel like they were testing out something new. And they're like, okay, we saw how they reacted to all of that, right? We saw how this certain demographic or this certain area of human people, we saw how they responded. We saw that they followed our rules, didn't question us. They took these jabs when we told them to. Okay. Now, what about the people who didn't listen? Like, let's focus on that group of people. Now, what's important to those people? How can we get those people to do what we tell them to do? Now, we've already got this group. So what about your children? So I heard they're coming up with this vaccine that is going to be mandatory for all of your children to take. And once they have a certain level of control over what happens to your children, to an extent, it's like if a bank robber takes your girlfriend and he like puts a gun to her head. You're like, okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do. It's like the government's like, we need to get their girlfriend, essentially, you know, but the children, they love their children even more. Get the kids, right? Once we can tell your children what to do, essentially we're going to be able to tell you what to do, right?
Yeah.
And that's terrifying.
But here's my question. Why would you have to even tell anybody? I mean, here's the point. Like, why would you have to put it in a vaccine? Couldn't you just like put it in food and like drinks, and you wouldn't like, and they'll just find a way to like put it in there without you knowing? Because how many times do you buy some and read all the ingredients?
Right, but here's the thing.
They could just do that. It could be a government thing that makes the food, and they put it in there, and you would never know.
I think
so why would it matter? Like they have ways to do it regardless.
I know, but I think if brain control worked to that level that you're talking about, where they can just put stuff in our food and all of a sudden we listen to everything they say, they'd have done that. I think they want more upfront control of everybody, like real compliance. You know, like in your food, it's like they still can't come out.
Money, right?
Yeah, but in your food, they still can't come out and be like, "Hey, now we own you," because it's subtle. But if they have a shot, a good solid,
even have to tell you is what I'm saying.
Right, but it's not working, right? Because you and I think we're free thinkers still. So they might have tried that, and it's working on certain people.
But who's to say that's what it's for? The drug could be just because like they're like, people are just living too long.
Do you
like
think
we need people to die sooner?
Well,
right?
That's like asking the question, like, do you trust Bill Gates, right? Like the guy that's coming up with a lot of this stuff. It's like for us to think that there's nothing negative going on after the last couple of years that we went through the vaccine stuff, and we're like, you can see how, dude, we were lied to, like on every aspect almost of the vaccine stuff, just straight lied to. So if they keep coming out with new, I don't know how, I didn't want to get on this, right? I wanted it to be about Andrew Tate. It kind of ties into that. We're talking about.
Well, he talks about the Matrix.
Yeah.
And that's what he considers the Matrix.
Right. I just feel like, I think you're right. I think a lot of us are still we're still free thinkers. We still have our own opinions. We're not being controlled. And I also think that these past couple of years was an exercise in how to control this population. I think maybe there was for sure, like, there was a virus, you know.
Certain people making people sick.
Yeah,
sure.
certain people died from it, but I think it was taking advantage.
More or less older people or people with health complications.
Exactly.
Where any of the flu or the regular cold would have killed them too.
Right. And I think just like with China, I think our government said, let's just take a little bit of advantage of this situation to see how much we can control these people. And they figured out, the scary thing about this is they figured out which groups would listen to them, you know, without question. And more importantly, they figured out which ones wouldn't. And Andrew Tate was at the top of that list. So people like Andrew Tate, people like me, people like you, people like Tim Kennedy, Jocko,
well, they don't like
Joe
people
Rogan.
Influencing people to not listen, right? Basically.
Exactly. Like all these people who didn't listen. I feel like now the focus of whoever's in charge, like whatever conspiracy we're talking about, I feel like their focus is now on those people, and that's scary. We should all be nervous about that. And letting little things slide, like going back to what you and I talked about in the video about the Pentagon failing its audit, right, for $2 trillion or whatever. Going back to little stuff like that just slides past us all because we're, like you said, we're focused on TikTok. We're scrolling. I'm doing it too. I don't know how to stop, dog. Yeah. How do you stop? How do you get off Instagram? Yeah. You know, like what else? Here's the thing about...
They don't like that people are coming in like this and they're using those forefronts to use it to get their message out.
Exactly.
Because now it's like, oh, wait, they're like giving them too much.
Yeah, people are getting smart. Hey. Hello. Shout out to Lexi. We're right here on the show. Hello, Lexi. Lexi's on FaceTime. Sorry, we had to say, we had to say hi. Okay.
She misses you guys, maybe.
We miss you too, Lexi. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, people like Andrew Tate, right? People like Joe Rogan. People like Tucker. Is it Tucker Carlson, right? People like that who are spreading like a message that's maybe a little more positive, maybe something that's like makes people go, wait a second, yeah, why are we doing this? Why the hell am I listening to everything the government tells me to do? You know, it's people like that cause them to go, wait a minute, shut this the hell down. I don't think Epstein lost his Instagram privileges ever throughout the time of his life. You know, I don't think Hunter Biden lost any privileges on his social medias. Like all these people, I don't think Nancy Pelosi lost any privileges. These people are proven criminals, and it's 100 million% provable that these people are criminals, and they're involved in way more criminal things than anything Andrew Tate has ever done in his entire life. But those people, ISIS has a freaking Instagram account, I thought. Like people, there are extreme terrorists who have Twitter accounts and stuff. It's like, what the hell is going on?
Well, here's my thing too, like you said, where you're talking about them being criminals and like this and that, and then they're like, and then how they're like, oh, we released all of Trump's like tax returns from the last 5 years. Well, then why aren't everybody's tax returns showed?
Exactly. That's
you're gonna pinpoint
question.
One person. Why can't you guys all show them then? Let's all see all of yours.
Yeah, let's release everybody's.
Because you want to like make him look bad? Well, prove that you're better then. But now what? Now they got time to, falsify their documents? Right?
Yeah, dude.
But they should have released them all at once. Be like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then you should have to show yours also. Because it's true. Like, you can't pick one thing and be like, well, this is right and that's wrong. You can't see mine, but you can see his.
Right. And that's the crazy thing about what you're saying is the they that you're talking about. Why don't they release all theirs? Why are they only targeting Trump? That's a specific group of people. And I watched an interview with a guy named Eddie Penny. He interviewed on the Sean Ryan show. You should go and watch that episode. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's involved in a lot of things. But one of the things he was talking about was at a certain point in his life, he came to the conclusion he wanted to like stop living he wanted to like turn his life over to God, right? So he tells this story, right? And he's talking about how he went to church at some point, and he said like struck me. He said in church or in this camp that he went to that was supposed to be for men, he was like, one of the things that he thought was that church is built for women, because it's so weak. It's like they tell you he's a warrior, by the way. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's a former Marine. Like he's done all these crazy combat tours overseas. Like he's killed people with knives, like stuff like that. That's what this dude is. Eddie Penny. Look him up. But he said church. He's like, it's almost like it's designed for women. Everything is about turn the other cheek. You do not do this. You let them do this to you. God is gonna. He's like, but in a lot of situations, he says, God wants warriors, right? I'm not trying to make this about like Christianity or church or preaching to anybody, but I'm painting a picture here. He says God wants warriors also, right? He wants people who are willing to stand up and fight. And sometimes you can't just be weak. You can't just be the person that turns the other cheek. You have to be the individual that goes and kills somebody sometimes. You have to fight back, right? You don't want to be a sheep led to the slaughter. So when we're talking about they're investigating Trump. And what's the other side doing? Like, what the hell are the people that are supposed to be on Trump's side doing? What's the opposition doing? We're not fighting back. We're not attacking them. We're not telling nobody. I don't see any petitions going around being signed telling Nancy Pelosi, release your tax records, like release this, step down. I don't see any of that on the opposite side. We're just taking it in the face, like, turn the other cheek. Let him hit you. Let him knock you down. Forgive him. Like, forgive.
Maybe they got a bigger plan in the future. You know, you never know. Maybe they're working on something.
They better be coming up with something big, because we've been doing nothing but getting canceled. Everybody's been getting, like, the people who are speaking the truth and who are talking and who are speaking out, who are encouraging people to think for themselves. The government is not supposed to be involved in every single aspect of your life the way that they are, but they are now. The government's not supposed. I saw an interview once. A guy said the government's not supposed to know anything about you. You're supposed to know everything about your government. They're not supposed to know this much about you. Like, they're your employees. It has completely flipped. You know, now they have our people. They have our citizens protecting them. Our soldiers are supposed to be protecting us.
And that's the whole Elon Musk thing too, I think, with him having Twitter. Now somebody owns it that they don't control. And now he can do what he wants with that format. And now all of a sudden this business is failing. And like, he's stepping down, right? And letting somebody else take it over.
I saw that.
And all this. And it's like, well, how did that even happen? Like, it went from like being okay to like, oh, now it's like 2 weeks away from like failing and being shut down, because he came in there and changed it. And like, we're going to let these people back on and say what they want to say. And they're like, So was the government like more into it than or like whoever was controlling it? Were they feeding them money so they could do what they wanted with it? And now somebody else came in and that didn't need the money at the time, right?
Ooh, that's scary, dude.
I'm curious. And now all of a sudden they're like, well, this is what's happened. Because, then you got media and everything else, and they down talk everything. And I'm just curious, like, well, they're like, oh, we can't control this now because somebody else does. We don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden it's like a bad thing, right? And like Twitter's almost failing and this and that. Why wasn't it failing before that?
So who's saying is it failing like on paper?
He was saying how much money was being spent here, and here when he got in there, right?
Right.
And they were saying at one time they were saying that it's like it could be 2 weeks from like being shut down and like going bankrupt, basically.
Now that he owns it?
Yeah.
Really?
As soon as he bought it. They were like, oh, yeah, they were talking about it. I mean, it didn't happen, obviously, because it's still going.
Right, okay.
But they were saying how close it was to like bankruptcy. I mean, unless that's why they sold it, I don't know.
That's got to just be propaganda, right?
But it's just crazy. No, because he was even saying it.
And did he actually step down? Because I'm behind on that story.
I don't know. I haven't paid enough I just was reading at one time that he said he was going to.
I read that too, yeah.
But he was also saying that it's too much for him to be there and do the other things too. He's saying it's a lot on his table, like plate.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it makes sense. Like, he should be able. I mean, he's the guy with the money, right? He's the guy. He's supposed to go in and find somebody to run it for him, basically, that he trusts to do.
Right. So maybe he's stepping down, but he still owns it, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
Okay.
But who's taking it over? Who's going to be running it, right?
I'm surprised Elon is still alive.
Maybe somebody's like, "Hey, here's this guy. He can run it for you," And they're like,
"Who?"
Well, I don't know, but whoever somebody brings somebody, and they're like, "Hey, this guy's a good candidate for you to let him take it over and help you out."
Ugh.
Right?
Dude, yeah.
Someone probably just showed up and they're like, hey, this is a good guy,
Yeah.
Like, it's possible. I'm not saying, is he just going to pick some random guy,
I feel like whoever he picks will be up for the task.
Yeah,
right?
But are they going to be on the same boat as he was,
I would hope so. I don't know. He can still fire that person maybe if they screw up.
But he was also someone that was kind of for like letting people say what they want to say, right?
Yeah,
like,
free speech. He put Andrew Tate back on Twitter. He put Trump back on Twitter. He banned Kanye after Kanye said, "Let's sympathize with Nazis." But I mean, come on, you can only go so far on Twitter. You have to have
but
levels.
who cares? Like, I mean, if it's against the law, then arrest him for it, whatever, if that's what it is. But isn't that the whole point? Is for people to go on there and say what they want to say, regardless if it's hated or not?
See, you know what? You're absolutely right about that too.
It's your choice to choose if you want to hear what he has to say or not. You don't have to listen to him. You can listen to whatever you want.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. Like, and now see, that's where I'm like, where do we draw the line? Like, is it okay for us to let Kanye talk about Nazis weren't so bad and Hitler did a lot of good things? Is it okay for us to, like, I don't know, man. Damn, that's a good question.
I mean, that's where it comes into like free speech, and then you have slander, and like there are laws in the Constitution that protect certain things and also are against the law.
Right.
So now you have to say whether it is or isn't against the law. But I mean, at the same time, still, he should, on this format, he should be able to say what he wants to say.
True.
If he does something wrong that is legit against the law, then go after him. You know, but why is the company that's letting you put your, you know, the media, all that out there, why is it against them to like go and like decide? Because then like as soon as they start deciding, now they can like, oh, well, now we probably shouldn't do this either, or this either, or this either. This person probably, you're always going to find something you're going to keep breaking it down and finding stuff wrong instead of just letting them say what they want to say. Because like I said, as a person, it's your choice. You have the choice to hate him and not listen to him and say, well, he's wrong. I'm not going to listen to anything he has to say anymore. So why does it matter if he says it? If he's wrong, you know? Maybe he is. Maybe he's just stupid and he said something dumb.
Right.
But people say dumb stuff all the time. Why are you going to regulate like what they're saying?
So let's pick Kanye in specific. Let's single him out. Let's take the phrase that he said, you know, Nazis weren't so bad and Hitler did a lot of great things. Is there anything illegal there? You know? That's
his choice to believe what he wants to believe, right?
I know, but that's what I'm asking. Like, he believes it. Is that against the law to say?
It shouldn't be, right?
I mean, that's his choice. So.
You're supposed to be like, right? Then if you're going to say what he can believe, well, then shouldn't you be like, well, then who's to say you can't say that religion's wrong and that one's right?
Exactly. Okay.
Why are there so many religions?
Right.
Now all of a sudden they can all be right, but that can't be right?
Right. So what if him saying that led to a bunch of Nazi people going, a bunch of like people who are actually Nazi, like, you know, the kind of
sympathizers,
people. Yeah.
Because there's obviously Nazis aren't real anymore.
Right. But what if that led to like a bunch of them rising up and going, yeah, let's kill some more Jews again? Because his argument right now, Kanye, his whole thing is he's just lashing out against Jews right now, like, because he thinks they're destroying the music industry.
Well, then if they think that's going to cause I get that point now, what you're saying, then now that something bad's going to happen because of it. Well,
but nothing did happen.
No.
So,
but if it did, then he's held accountable for that.
You think
he's taking the risk?
Could we hold him accountable? That's the thing. See, this is how intricate it gets. It's like
everybody should. The people that do it should also be held accountable.
Exactly. Those people should.
If they're actually, because those people are going to say, "Well, he inspired us to do this."
Right, but we have to hold you accountable, though. So he might have inspired you, but all he did was talk. We can't.
Manson didn't kill anybody, right? And him personally, and they threw him in prison.
That's true. Yeah.
So they were on drugs. They went in. They just say they did what he was said to do.
Yeah.
So he didn't actually kill anyone himself.
Right. I don't know too much about the Manson story, so I can't even talk about it because I'm uneducated.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I don't know, but I just feel it's hard to. It's supposed to be a site made for people to voice their opinions on stuff, right? Or for people like when they come out and say things, like they're saying their opinion.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, you know?
Right.
We're not always right either on here, and we're probably not always wrong.
What are you talking about? Nobody's fact-checking us.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, we say what we want to say because it's what we think.
That's true. That's true.
You have the right to believe what you want to believe.
Yeah. Andrew Tate has the right to believe and say what and the fact that people think that here's the thing that gets me about all this Andrew Tate stuff and the Kanye West stuff, and I shouldn't even say Kanye West, not necessarily him, but Trump. Let's say Trump, Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan, like all these people who are influencers who are supposed to be controversial. Here's what gets me about why people want to cancel those people. Because they say like, oh, you're influencing young men or you're influencing young women, and you're giving them these bad ideas. For instance, I'll just stick to Andrew Tate. His thing, a lot of people are like, oh, you're influencing young teenage boys, like their minds, they're easily influenced. But right, they'll say that, they'll use that argument like Andrew Tate is changing the way young boys think, young men, how they treat women. But when it comes to like the transgender thing and how we allow transgender people, like drag queens, all this crap, we allow all that stuff into our schools, right? We allow it into our churches, and we're putting on these crazy strip shows for young children. We're encouraging young children in books that are in schools. We're encouraging children to have sexual relationships with older men and stuff like this, right?
Allow them to say what they want to say.
Right. And the rest of us are looking at this and we're going, hey, you're influencing young minds. You're doing exactly the same thing you're saying, Andrew. You don't want to admit, but they'll say, oh, no, we're not doing this. Just children can decide for themselves, right, is what they want to say. They're like, children have the ability to make their own decisions and this and that. It's okay, so when it comes to Andrew Tate, you think he has the power to influence teenage boys. But when it comes to transgender people and there's a lot of their crazy ideas, you don't think that they have the power to influence young minds either? It just falls off right there? Yeah. And those people are targeting children that are 3, 4, 2, like up to 10 years old. Like those, they're targeting the very malleable brains of young children. So it's like, what the hell? Then it comes to the point where we're like, okay, those people are insane. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They are it's a one-sided thing. They're not being objective. They're being subjective about everything that is involved in their lives. They're not looking at both halves of anything. They're attacking, like, then you realize who's really like the problem and who's not, right? Because that's when push comes to shove. When you look at people's actions like that, where it's like you're not looking at you're being a hypocrite in a lot of situations. Like almost every situation, you're being a hypocrite. When it comes to the other side, you won't admit that you're doing it over here. You want to tell us, oh, Andrew Tate's influencing young minds. You don't want to admit that this is doing the exact same thing over here, and it's you. Mm-hmm. Like that's what gets me about people like this, like that are. Like
I'm only right and what I say is right.
100%. Like Greta Thunberg, she doesn't know. I don't think she knows what the hell she's. Have you watched any of her interviews like about climate change? Well, they said
if she doesn't have a piece, that one video I showed, they say when she's at the thing, she doesn't even know how to answer because she wasn't given the answers.
She's looking, and then she's like, I can't speak for everybody. It's like, you didn't even say anything, though, to answer the question. Like, you didn't give us a single piece of, like, information. We asked you a question, right? It's
crazy.
Dude, it blows my mind. Hopefully, Andrew Tate is proven innocent because I don't care what anybody says. I like the hell out of Andrew Tate.
Because he makes good points on stuff he says. And people don't like that, I think.
Right.
Either.
And here's
I'm not saying he's always right.
Right. Here's that's exactly what I was going to say. I don't agree 1,000,000% with Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate thinks every man should have 10 women. I think that's great in theory. I don't think that ever works well in like the reality of life for every man on earth. You can't all have 10 women. It just doesn't work that way. It's a dumb idea. It doesn't end well, right? So there's some things Andrew says where I think he says it for effect, and he's said that in the past. He does do that. But it's like, obviously, that's ridiculous, right? Some of the things he says. You're like, there's no way, okay? But people are idiots, and they don't pick up on those little subtleties, you know? So,
We'll have to do an update after this is all over, right?
Yeah, once he gets out of jail, we'll come back here and if once he gets proven innocent or guilty. If he gets proven guilty, I'm gonna be mind blown, and we're gonna have to do another really deep podcast about what the hell's going on. Anyway, anything else?
We can cue the music, man. I gotta go to the bathroom.
I saw you spinning.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like trying to hold it, but I gotta.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to you in the next video.
Where are the aliens? Maybe they're among us. I don't know.